Hi, could I speak to Al Pacino, please?
Hey, who the hell is this, man?
It's Roberto Revilla from the Tailoring Talk podcast.
Roberto, who?
Roberto Revilla.
Man, I don't know what you're talking about, man.
I can't believe you haven't heard of me. Anyway, so I'm a bespoke tailor. I'm based over in London, and I my show basically I talk to people. I find out about their stories and their journeys. Now, obviously, you're very famous,
Hey, listen,
so
listen to me, you guy. You don't need to know nothing about my journey, okay? I don't know who the hell you are, where the hell you come from, why the hell you calling me from United Kingdom. For all I know, you could be CIA, FBI, or any of that shit, man.
well. Also, Al, we're a clean podcast. But anyway,
Hey, you talk to my security, man. I don't know who the hell you want to talk to about. You ain't talking to me, man. I ain't talking to nobody. You get the hell out of here, man.
well, I just, from a fashion perspective, because I am a tailor and I'm interested in fashion, and you're involved in the upcoming Saint Laurent campaign. And at the age of 81, I just think that's an amazing achievement. It's so impressive, and you are still so super cool. So I just wondered if we could just have a chat about that.
Okay, maybe you want to talk about my Versace suit. Okay, no problem, man. Anytime, man. Come on.
Okay, well, no, not Versace, Al. Maybe you're not hearing me. Saint Laurent. You're going to be in the new Saint Laurent campaign.
Listen, I don't know what the hell language you're talking about, man. You talk to my agent, baby. I'm getting out of here.
I shouldn't need to talk to your agent. I mean, Anthony Vaccarello, he
That guy.
directed you. He directed you in that new campaign. Yeah, you
Listen
were
to me.
filming.
You listen to me. That guy's a cockroach, man. You don't talk to him no more. I thought that guy was dead. Hey, Manny. He says that guy's still alive, man.
Okay, I think we're gonna have to. I'm gonna get out of this now before something really
Yeah,
bad
you
happens
better
to
take
me.
care of yourself, man.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Fine. Thanks. I'm really sorry to have disturbed you. Welcome to the Tailoring Talk show with me, your host, Roberto Revilla. Very relieved to be still alive after that encounter. I'm never going to try and get him on the blower again. I'm a bespoke tailor, menswear designer, and owner of Roberto Revilla London Suit and Shirt Makers. This is the first episode of season 4 and the 29th episode overall of the podcast, where you drop in for the threads but often leave with something quite unexpected. If you haven't already, please support the show by subscribing, and if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, please help me out by leaving a rating and a review. Today I'm joined by one of the most popular guests you and I have had the pleasure of spending time with on the show. He's a doctor in the traditional sense, as in he is a proper real-life GP, but he is also a doctor of the decks, able to DJ with the best of them. He is the doctor of sound as the owner of Zebra Home Cinema, and he is the doctor of impressions, as you just heard in that amazing cold open. I love spending time with him, whether it's here on the podcast or in real life. Yes, it's the return of Dr. Atif Ghaffar. Happy New Year, my dear friend. How are you?
Happy New Year to you too, Bobby. Always a pleasure. I'm very well, thank you very much. How's the New Year treating you?
Yeah, it's not too bad. We're recording on the 12th of January, 2022. It's all right. It's been a kind of weird start to the year because obviously we're not in lockdown or anything, but there is a sort of work from home, if you can, advice order in place at the moment until the end of January, and that's just kind of making things a bit weird at the moment, business-wise. But on the personal front, I'm fine. How are you?
Not too bad at all. Just plodding on as usual, doing all sorts of weird and wonderful things. But I share your I think that the sentiments there, it's mixed feelings really of hope and pessimism because, obviously, look, we've survived, we're here, but there's a lot of businesses that have planned a lot during, this coming year, but obviously not knowing what's around the corner, when we might get another lockdown, if that. So I think we just all have to remain hopeful really and do what we can.
Yeah, and you're seeing both sides of it, really, aren't you? Because you're seeing it from a doctor point of view. Obviously, you can enlighten me in a second how much you are kind of having to deal with that sort of stuff or not. But I mean, whenever we speak, I know that you actually hate your day job. Hopefully, none of your patients are listening to this. I'm just going to say
that's not true. That's not true.
Yeah, right. Because people are the thing that people talk the most about is what they're passionate about, and you talk the most about the wonderful home cinemas that you build, and those amazing Steinway Lyndorf audio systems and the MNK stuff. All of that. So that's really your bag, isn't it?
I think everyone's you all have certain passions and hobbies that make us excited. I mean, next time if you want to talk about giving out sick notes and treating urine infections, we'll do another podcast on that. But yeah,
definitely.
If we're talking about the things that re-energize us to do the jobs that we enjoy doing at the same time, when the chips are down, when we're exhausted, when we're a bit disgruntled, then we look at those passions and those things that we the things that excite us to re-energize us.
Can I ask you a couple of doctor-related questions? You're supposed to say yes, you may, Bobby. Go ahead.
That's a wonderful private GP service that you can contact online.
So when you write a prescription, if you still write prescriptions, or when you used to have to write a prescription, was your prescriptions this is my Croydon coming through, were your prescriptions legible? Because I remember my GP, or actually any GP I've ever had in my life, when they've written prescriptions out, I don't know if they write in Latin or what, but it just seems to be one big scribble. And so yeah, answer that one first, and then I'll ask my follow-up question.
In my personal practice since day one, yes, all my prescriptions have been legible because I really want the pharmacist to dispense what I've prescribed rather than something that I've made up or they've made up or is nothing to do with it. So yes,
okay,
they've always been legible.
Well, that's messed up my follow-up question because you were meant to say, yeah, I do just scribble. Because then my follow-up question was going to be, because then I would take in the scribbled prescription that I couldn't make out what the hell was going on to the pharmacist, but the pharmacist would just look at it and go, oh yeah, okay, yeah, no problem at all. And then he would just dispense what the doctor had told me was going to be dispensed. So I'm now wondering if there's a school of language or linguistics that is only for GPs and pharmacists. So they have this secret language that
I think
only they...
The powers of telepathy were a lot stronger than in the 80s.
Mm-hmm.
And since then, legislation and regulation have made things so that, things are a little bit clearer and transparent now.
Okay. And when you're doing a personal examination, and I imagine this is usually for a bloke, do you tell them to cough when you're sort of groping around down there?
I don't think I've actually ever groped anyone during an examination, but there's something called the cough reflex.
Okay.
There's something called the cough reflex. So when you're examining for a hernia, then when they increase their intra-abdominal pressure during a cough, if they've got a hernia, sometimes it becomes a bit more obvious during the examination.
Okay, I've got another question actually now.
Yeah, this feels like a medical school vibe in my final year. Come on, bring it on.
Yeah, but this is a genuine question. What is a hernia? I'm serious. I have no.
A hernia.
Clients tell me that they're having a procedure for a hernia, and I sympathise with them. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. I hope you get better soon. I've got no freaking idea what a hernia is. I could have Googled it, but I can't be bothered. So tell me.
So the commonest type of hernia, it's essentially a weakened muscle fibers, usually in the abdominal area, and often a common area of a hernia is either groin, and often people will do quite heavy lifting, and where that area of weakness is, the bowel wall pushes against that weakening and often pops out, and that's what we call a hernia. So when it starts causing pain, then the only way of repairing that is surgically.
Okay, that doesn't sound very nice. Okay, we'll stop with the GP questions now. Thank you very much, Doctor.
You're
Much
most welcome.
appreciated.
I'll see you next week for your prostate examination.
We try to do. This is the new segment I'm doing, which is the education segment of Tailoring Talk. It's new for 2022.
Wonderful.
Thank you for your contribution. Oh my God. There's do you know what? I always leave any encounter with you feeling 100 times better and feeling so energized as well.
Oh, good. So I've done my job as a GP then.
Yeah, exactly. We'll talk about one particular adventure we went on at the end of last year.
Yes, can't wait
in
till
a
we
bit.
calm that.
But speaking of last year, so for you, so let's focus on the home audio side of things. So any highs for 2021? Any big achievements for Zebra that you're particularly proud of?
Actually, yes. I mean, one of the things I really wanted to achieve was to be able to bring the Steinway brand to the Midlands for the first time. And I managed to sell a Steinway home cinema system and a music system to a client who was absolutely thrilled with it. And that was a huge achievement personally and from a business sense. So that was a really, really good high for me last year. And I started my business just at the beginning of the lockdown, so there was a lot of uncertainty to begin with. But we've sailed through, and since the start of this year, we're getting quite a few inquiries come in. So the word's getting out, projects are coming in. So I'm extremely happy at the moment.
That's really good to hear. Do you know what? It's really funny because obviously you and we recorded quite early on in Tailoring Talk. So I think it was episode 5.
Mm-hmm.
And then we got together again because you had me down at Rob's place for a big M&K Steinway Lyndorf demo day. We had the guys down, and I can't remember what episode that was, but it was our longest and biggest ever one. And our most successful, actually, the most listened to or most downloaded. And I can't remember where I was going with that. Oh no, that was it. So I've spent, and then obviously you and I have spent time together outside of all of that as well. And we kind of do keep in touch quite regularly now because we're scheming and plotting together a few various things. But I didn't realise, or I missed the bit where you'd only started Zebra at the beginning of the pandemic.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I mean, at the time, there was various reasons why I started the business at that particular time. A lot of it was simply the demographic and the area where we live. We live in a nice area in the Midlands, and no one had really heard of these brands. And I took it upon myself of introducing these brands to the Midlands. So the timing was sort of correct, but obviously no one knew what was going to happen, within a few months. Luckily, my installation team were under the same sort of remit as construction workers, decorators. So we managed actually to get a few projects done during the, as soon as there's a little bit of relaxing of the restrictions. So we managed to get a couple of nice projects done, and then since then things have developed.
They just kind of started to snowball gradually, right?
Yeah.
Because I imagine when you've done an installation, obviously that client is going to be enjoying that and probably telling all their friends about it. But, also, I guess, when they're able to then start having people back in their homes visiting family and so on, and then obviously they're going to show off those systems to them. And then hopefully that's going to create a knock-on effect of, repeat referrals for you as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, at the beginning, as a startup, you get bombarded with all sorts of strategies to follow, and you've got to do this on Instagram and Facebook, and create all these campaigns. But from the little experience I've had so far in starting my own business, for this type of industry, nothing beats word of mouth, and that's gold dust. So when you've made one client not just satisfied, but surpass their expectations, their positive feedback goes a long way.
Yeah, 100%. That's the thing. For 2022, I'm reevaluating the whole kind of social media thing and so on. Because if you look at our company Instagram, which I started a couple of years ago, and that's been grown organically, if there is such a thing in social media, and I'd probably say, because we've now shot up to about 2,700 followers, but I would probably say of those 2,700, barely 50% are actually good followers or quality followers. The rest are junk, right? And it's really funny because when you look at other people's so-called, or on the surface, successful social media accounts, where, there's one estate agent that I follow, and his account just sort of grew out of nowhere to thousands and tens of thousands. And, he does these, those estate agent trendy videos at the moment where they use drone cameras or whatever, and they sort of go from a front door and swoop through the house, do a very quick, transition from room to room, and there's all funky hip hop music and all that kind of stuff. And they get hundreds or thousands of views. But when you look really carefully at their following, the following is complete and utter junk. Like, there's a lot of bots and, sort of accounts that are never going to buy luxury homes or luxury home cinema or luxury clothing or whatever it happens to be. And I've found in business over the years that a lot of people will approach you and they will tell you that there's a magic, but they'll be trying to sell you the magic beans or the magic bullets, right? This thing is going to bring you so much business, and there isn't one. Like, I've tried, and I've seen others trying just about everything that is available out there that people are constantly trying to sell us as entrepreneurs, and you hit the nail on the head there. That, that kind of, so if we take yours and I business is very, very similar. I fit someone in a set of amazing clothes. You go to someone's house and you turn one of their rooms into an experience room where they can have the best audio and visual experience for listening to and watching their media. Then someone experiences it with them, or they have such a great experience that they go and tell other people about us. And then those people come to us and they buy, and then they do the same thing. That's the best way to grow a business. All the social media stuff and so on. I think it's important to have a social media presence. So I don't think I could ever ditch my Instagram, because that's like a catalogue of work, and that's the same for you. So social media, YouTube and Instagram are catalogues for your work. I love having a look at the installations that your team are working on and all that kind of thing. It's fantastic for me. And what it does for me as someone who hopefully one day will be using your services, it kind of gets me sort of putting my little mental shopping list together of what I want. So but in terms of actually getting business in a volume way, it's not that at all. And I think you've realised that quite early on. And so your use of social media and what you do with your videos on YouTube, which are very, very educational, and the interviews you do are fantastic as well. You have been doing, whether it's been by design or it's been accidental, is your socials tend to add value to prospective customers rather than trying to get everybody, because you're not going to get everybody, because your product isn't for everybody.
I think you're absolutely spot on, and it's when you enter territory that you're not familiar with, so the whole world of business and marketing, you know, I've had to learn a lot of new things which are totally alien to what I trained for as a profession, what my day job was. So when you say you need to do social media marketing, it's like saying, oh, you need to learn English to sell to customers. It's so nebulous, it's so vague. What does that actually mean? And what you find is that once you've identified those customers and see how to engage with them, then you have to be very, very specific in what methods you use and how you're going to develop that engagement. So when you do, and lots of mistakes have been made along the way. I'm not going to kid you on that, but even
of course,
recently,
and you're going to make a ton more mistakes.
Yes, and even
I'm still
recently,
making mistakes.
We've had to change some of the marketing strategy where we realise that it's not just a case of posting something that a famous actor's come up with. In fact, the thing that adds value is, hold on, what did I do yesterday that my audience and potential buyers or people are going to speak to other people who might end up buying something, what are they interested in seeing in its real life, the real life behind the scenes. This is what we're up to. And that's what gives you the kudos and the sort of social proof that, yes, that this is legitimate, this is something that we trust, this is something that we understand. And once you've got that trust, then you just develop upon that.
Yeah. Let's talk about products, or your products. I mean, again, for people who do listen to the podcast regularly and are up to date. For new listeners, I should have probably explained at the top that, Atif is the owner of Zebra Home Cinema. So he basically installs amazing systems into people's homes. Not just homes. I guess the potential is endless, right? I mean, you can install these systems into people's yachts. And
one day, hopefully, it's a dream. But yeah. I want to do a wonderful installation on a yacht. I've got some fantastic products that I can offer.
So I'm just trying to think. Your villain's lair, if you happen to be in the bottom of a volcano somewhere.
We're not just James Bond's. We don't just serve James Bond any of his villains. If you're out there, we've got some superb products for you.
Yeah, I'm sprinkling Easter eggs here for some of the stuff we're going to be talking about later. You see what I'm doing?
As a consultant, one of the things I've spent quite some time doing is I love to go around up and down the country and visit various demo rooms and some of our distributors, and particularly look at fairly niche products to find out what their applications are and who, what sort of clients can have these things. Recently visited L Acoustics Creations in London, where they've got some fabulous products. If you want to have your own, personal nightclub in your basement or your art gallery or whatever you have, and yes, if you've got an amazing beachfront villa or a yacht, they've got a superb revolving audio system sofa, absolutely exquisite. I won't tell you the price because it'll probably faint. But there's something sort of for everyone. But I really like to find things which are really out there and find the absolute best for each application, depending what you want to do.
Yeah, I mean, for me, having experienced them now in real life, those Steinway Lyndorf, I always get the model numbers mixed up, the O's and the B's and the D's and whatever. D probably doesn't exist. But they are amazing. I mean, that podcast that we sort of cut together from that demo day, some of the sound clips, for me, demonstrate just how good those systems are, because they, some of those clips, I don't know if you listened to that back, but some of those clips came across, obviously not with the clarity that we had when we were fortunate enough to be in the presence of these amazing machines, but still, you really got a sense of the quality of those systems, and they are absolutely mind-blowing. I would say at the sort of low to mid-range of the market, you'd be hard-pressed, unless you're a real audiophile, to really tell the difference between things. But those you know, I mean, I don't care if you're tone deaf or whatever. I mean, you know the difference straight away. I mean, I keep it had that much impact on me. I've gone back into how I was on that last recording, right?
I can tell you on your
because
face on this video
I can
call.
go back. I can go. I'm back there at Rob's place in front of them again, and I can remember how I felt when I sat in front of those D-shaped ones that oh my god, and then those big ones that produce the waves in parallel lines all the way down.
Speakers.
The line source speakers, and oh god, amazing. I really hope my lottery numbers come in tonight for my quadruple rollover,
because that's on the shopping list. I mean, one of the things I really love doing is part of what I do is sort of education and just showcasing or highlighting what's out there so that potential customers just have an experience. And so when they go away, just very much like how you felt when we did that mock GP consultation, they're more informed, they've had a certain experience that they won't forget, and then they can just compare other sort of systems. And if when it comes to them making a purchase, a fairly substantial investment, at least they're well informed and they can make the right decision for them.
Yeah. Is there anything new coming? I mean, I guess it might be too early in the new year for you to have had anything new in terms of news from Steinway, Lyndorf, etc., or Lyndorf Audio rather. But anything new coming down the pipe?
There is. So Lyndorf Audio have just launched their custom installation series of speakers. So these are a range of in-wall speakers, and which you can use for music, home cinema applications, but where you want to actually hide them. So whether you want to hide them behind an acoustically transparent screen or hide them into a media wall so they're flush with the TV. This is the first range of in-wall products that Lyndorf Audio have brought out. And Miller and Kreisel, M&K Sound, they've brought out a whole new range of subwoofer technology. Principally that their subwoofers have been fantastic. They've now gone up several notches. And you've got the V series of subwoofers, which are sort of fairly compact, but the whole range has increased in power, and they've brought a brand new 15-inch sub in the V series. And in the X series of subwoofers, these are the real beasts. These are THX approved subwoofers, but they've now released their first dual 15-inch subwoofer for sort of big applications, big cinemas. That's very, very exciting. We're seeing new products come from some of the key leaders in the audio industry.
Wow. And how soon would your demo rooms then be updated with these things, or would you not necessarily be taking those on? Are you at the stage yet where Lyndorf are actually just sending stuff to you, or do you have to still,
I wish.
you have to buy it?
No, all of this is a labour of love, but it requires a lot.
Do I need to get Lyndorf himself on the podcast and become friends with him? And
Peter, I've tried reaching out to Peter. He's an incredibly busy man, but hopefully one day, you never know. There's the stuff in my own demo room, it works very, very well for the size of the room. And sometimes
what do you have installed at your demo room up in the
middle?
So
in our main home cinema demo room, we have it's a 13.2.4 system.
Okay.
Actually, that's wrong. It's a 9.2.4 system.
Okay.
Which basically means you've got 9 speakers situated at ear level.
Right.
So 3 in the front, 2 pairs of surround speakers, and a pair of extra wide speakers. So there's 9 speakers at sort of head height. And then you've got a pair of subwoofers. So I've got a pair of dual 12-inch subwoofers, M&K's X12 subwoofers, and 2 pairs of speakers in the ceiling for Atmos.
Yeah. Wow.
So it's the full shebang.
I'm going to have to come up there one day, aren't
Absolutely. So in my demo room, for instance, it'd be very tempting to get a pair of 15-inch subs, but the question is, so you want to match the tech or the power of the equipment to the size of the room.
Yeah. So the small little Diddy ones that we listened to in the White Cottage, the White Room at Rob's place, were they the S15s?
No. So in the White Room, see, these are the Lyndorf speakers.
Okay.
Now, the S15 speakers are situated in one of the other cinema rooms. So the S15s are the smallest loudspeakers that Steinway Lyndorf manufactured.
Because you've got the Steinway and Sons speakers, which are the ones that have got the beautiful sort of black piano casing and stuff.
All the beautiful
and then you've got,
ones, yeah.
Yeah, and then you've got the Lyndorf Audio. Yeah. That's where I've got confused, isn't it? Okay. Oh my God, I can't wait. My house is coming along, by the way.
Wonderful. We'll have to pop round and see what would look good and what would sound good.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, what's very popular at the moment are the small music systems which we're selling. So for around about £3,000, you can get an absolutely cracking stereo music system, which is a pair of the small Lyndorf speakers with an 8-inch subwoofer and the streaming device, the TD AI 1120, which is a streaming device with the power amplification with built-in room perfect technology. So as package, it's very hard to beat anything at that sort of price bracket.
Yeah, and that streaming device then basically allows you to it allows you to use Spotify or Apple Music or whatever, and just get your music directly through.
Roon, yeah.
And obviously, Apple Music now comes with lossless audio at no extra charge for Apple Music subscribers. So you're getting that system would then allow you to get the very best sound quality possible. Yeah, wow. So another thing that you're quite passionate about, because I noticed that you've been skiving. You've been skiving test drives of really expensive cars lately. And I actually meant to ask you, but it just so happens that you're now being recorded. I meant to ask you what you've been up to. But yeah, you've been driving some monsters lately.
Well, technically, I've been taking pictures and videos of monster vehicles, so you don't actually see me driving any of them.
But you say thanks for the test drive, or is that Instagram versus reality?
No. So I test drove a vehicle, but not necessarily the one that I videoed.
Oh, okay. So what did you test drive?
So then? I recently essentially, I'm replacing my car at the moment because I need bigger boot space to lug DJ equipment up and down the country. And so I'm replacing my current saloon for essentially an estate.
Oh, okay. So are you going to get the RS6? Because no, that is the only cool... That's the only cool estate that you can buy.
Now, this is the big debate. You see, I absolutely love the Audi RS6. My dream was I just wanted a purple RS6 for years. And every time I see one, I've got a real affinity for it. And when I see it, I think, oh, wow, that's such a cool car.
What is it about the RS6, though? Because originally, years ago, before I actually owned a couple of Audi, I had a TTS and I had a TT, which I went up to a stage 3 map and everything on that, changed the air intake and everything, K&N'd it, all of that stuff. And then I swapped that out for a TTS, and then that was where my appreciation of things like the RS6 came in. But when I was younger, people would bang on about the RS6, and I would look at it and be like, but that's a dad's car. It's just an estate. I mean, it looks like a fancy Volvo.
And did you get awful stares? And what are you talking about? Are you nuts?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I guess the RS6, what is it? So it's basically a powerful performance car, but it has all the practicality you need to lug the family around or stick the dogs in the back or shove your golf clubs in the back, right? Have I summed it up?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, in terms of the engineering, and basically it's just a monster estate. And it's got such a cult following, a lot of kudos to do with it. And as soon as you see one, you know it's not the same thing as a normal A6 Avant. You know, the wheel arches are wider. It's got the huge tailpipes. It's
it's got the massive Brembos as well.
I think the C7 version, it's got the V8 engine. I mean, it's an absolute monster, this thing. And these are the same sort of cult status cars that, you know, if you're going back, say, almost 15, 20 years, if you ever saw a VW Corrado G60 or, you know, a V6 4Motion or an R32, you know, it's that sort of performance vehicle that, you know what, that is so cool. It's really powerful and it gets that sort of kudos.
Yeah.
Unfortunately...
So, you're not getting one, though.
Well, no. Unfortunately... You and I think it's really, really cool, but there's lots of other people out there where they want to get the parts, and they'll use illegitimate means to get those parts to make their cars look like that. And unfortunately, it just seems to attract sort of unfavorable attention. And it's a sort of vehicle that I thought, you know what, I really like it. I'm glad you like it, but I don't really want you following me home to get the keys off me.
Yeah, to nick it.
And it's just one of those unfortunate things. So it's the other issue I have is the technology inside the vehicles. So as an example, at the moment I'm driving a Mercedes E63S. Now, if you compare 2017 model to a 2017 RS6, the 2017 model of the RS6 is still sort of 2012, 2013 tech inside the car. Whereas the 2017 E63, the whole tech's completely changed. You've got really cool LED changing lights and, you know,
I found that
digital dash. It's just really, really cool.
Of the major three German car marques, so BMW, Mercedes and Audi, Mercedes do seem to be always ahead of the curve on the sort of updating the interiors and the technology and so on. Like Audi, the interiors have been very, very samey for quite a few years now.
Yes.
And BMW, I mean, they've done nothing really different with their interior. I mean, the thing with BMW, though, and this is me being a little bit biased, is that at least their stuff actually works. Like, I've never had a problem with BMW in-car software and all that kind of stuff. You know, Audi's very Bauhaus. It's very sort of minimalist and, you know, functional and so on. You know, I don't dislike it. But Mercedes, I remember, you know, when I was flying more regularly and when I got back, I used to get what's the chauffeur firm called? I'm going to sound like a right ponce, but it was the same price as an Uber, but the service was better and they only drove E and S class Mercs.
Right.
And so the first time I ever used them, they turned up in an S-Class Merc for me, and it had the seats at the back that reclined and had the massage function and everything. And I remember, like, not just the dashboard, but stretching all the way over, or it seemed to stretch all the way over to the passenger side as well. It's just like one massive, huge,
console,
high-resolution display. It was absolutely incredible. And all the mood lighting in there is incredible and so on. So are you going for another Mercedes?
Yeah. I was going to say, the other thing about the RS6, of course, is before the advent of things like 4MATIC and xDrive, these were Quattros. So going back 15 years ago, if you could sit in this thing all weather, doesn't matter if it snows or anything. This car's a powerhouse, and it'll take you anywhere you wanted to, and you had full confidence whilst driving. Obviously, since then, now you've got the M5 competition xDrive, you've got the E63 4MATIC. So suddenly all these guys have caught up, and now you've got a lot more options. But yes, I've gone for an estate.
And what's the model? I want to look it up.
Yeah, so if you look at my Instagram story...
Don't worry, you can ask me about what I'm getting soon.
I'll come on to that, because there's something quite cool about your vehicle that I thought was just awesome. But if you look at my Instagram story, you'll see the hint of... it's a GLC 63S.
Oh, I think I know what that is, because my head tailor, he's got a Mercedes... it's the SUV, right?
Yeah.
GLC 63. Oh, the coupe version. So he's got the one that looks a bit more square now.
That's
the
what I'm
newer
getting.
one.
So if you look at it, it looks like the very first X5.
Yeah. So before that, he had the coupe.
Yeah.
You know, the really big one that looks a bit like a BMW X6?
Yes.
Amazing car. And then he changed it, and he's now got the GLC, you know, what you said.
Yeah.
Which he absolutely loves. And he's got it in, it's like a really dark green, but it almost looks black in certain lights. It's only when you get it in direct sunlight that you can actually see it's green. And it's, absolutely beautiful. Oh my God, you're going to love that.
That's why I went for the test drive, and I thought, yes, I fell in love with it. This is exactly what I want. Stick my stuff in the back. Still makes a bit of a noise. It'll do me fine for a few years.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, brilliant. I've got a new car on order.
I've seen the teasing images. So this is the Mini Cooper with the Mortal Kombat thing on the bonnet.
No, that's my car.
That's your current car.
That's my Mini. Yeah.
Where did you get the Mortal
Mini.
Kombat symbol from?
It's not a Mortal Kombat symbol, for flip's sake, Atif. Bloody hell. It's not the Mortal...
It's a dragon.
Go and look at the Mortal Kombat symbol, and then go and look at my car bonnet, right? It is not the same thing.
It's a dragon.
Yeah, it's a dragon, but it's not the Mortal Kombat symbol, is it? It's a tribal dragon. Listen, I went for years thinking I was born in the year of the snake, and then I discovered that my school was crap, and I was actually born in the year of the dragon. So I'm a dragon.
Fantastic.
And you know, dragons are very, especially after the last couple of years that we've had, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I started putting dragons on everything. I was wearing dragon cufflinks. I was wearing dragon tie pins. I put the dragon on the Mini when I got that. You can see I've got my dragon tattoo.
You're the man with the dragon tattoo.
That's it, the tailor with the dragon tattoo. It's my new one, because I used to be the rock and roll tailor, but we're, you know, rebranding.
I love it.
It's actually been quite embarrassing recently, because I've seen some clients on home visits, and I've just been rocking up, you know, with my sleeves rolled up and stuff. And a few of them have said, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed. I've known you for 15, 16 years, and I've never noticed that you had a tattoo." And I'm like, "I only got it about 3 months ago." This kind of looks more and more like a midlife crisis. Sorry, where was I? Yeah, that's my current Mini. And yes, it's got a dragon on the bonnet, but it is not the Mortal Kombat symbol, okay?
I do like the Mortal Kombat symbol, but...
Oh, you do? Yeah. Well, mine's not the Mortal Kombat symbol. It's quite different. I think the Mortal Kombat symbol... Actually, I'm going to Google it now. Because now really...
It's like a
live on the recording.
A dragon in a circle.
Yeah, but it's not. It's got nothing. It looks nothing like my dragon, though. My dragon's really cool and sophisticated and classy.
You know, it is. So it's the Mortal Kombat one.
No, the Mortal Kombat one has got an orange background, and it's more sort of circular, and it's got less of the jagged edges that mine has got. And that dragon has got a really puffed out chest. I think it's a woman, and it's got a tongue that sort of loops, and it's got a very long tongue. And mine's spitting fire. So
yours is the fiery dragon. Yours is like the Game of Thrones Mini Cooper then.
Mine's like... Oh, what, is there a Game of Thrones dragon symbol?
Well, no, but it's got fire-breathing dragons in it.
Oh my God, I can't believe that we're...
So what are you getting next?
Well, no, I'm Googling the Game of Thrones dragon symbol now. Is it the Targaryen one?
Yes.
Yeah, House of Targaryen. Well, that's a three-headed dragon, isn't it? And that's not really a tribal... I mean, it kind of is tribal, actually. Oh, actually, it's quite cool. But I wouldn't put that on anything. It's fictional, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, mine's a symbol of a real dragon. Anyway, so what am I getting? So I'm getting another Mini. So Petro, my big bro, he's got the Aston Martin AMR Vantage. He's got an Alpine 110, which he's just done a stage 1 upgrade on. That thing goes like the clappers now. It's like 300, I think it's been tuned to like 327 horsepower and so on.
Someone's been bored at home, haven't they?
Yeah, he does get bored quite quickly, actually. But I'm so looking forward to driving. I drove his Aston.
Oh.
So when we were at Stilford,
Yes.
When he was showing at that show, he did let me drive it before we went down there. And the Aston's quite cool. Although I didn't get to let it rip because he decided that I should drive it. 180 grand's worth of car, should drive it on those tiny little. They're not even B roads around there. They're like
it's quite challenging.
Z roads.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they're so narrow, and the turns, like you don't think that car's going to make the turns as well. And when someone's coming in the opposite direction, I just do like a Cameron Diaz from The Holiday, where, do you remember that film? And she's kind of driving the Mini, and then she just shuts her eyes. It's like, but luckily I didn't damage it. But the Alpine, I can't wait. So my Mini is sadly going to go in the spring, and I was looking at the Mini electric, but I'm not convinced about electric vehicle technology or that it's actually the right thing to do for the environment at the moment, because they can't recycle the batteries. We've got a problem coming in 10 years' time with all the batteries that are on the road at the moment. When they start dying, you don't get the range that's quoted. To get the range quoted or anywhere near it, you have to drive turning everything off in the car. Like heater, mobile phone, lights, everything. There's no way that if they say you're going to get 160 miles out of a battery or 225 miles out of a battery, there's no way you're going to get that full range unless you're driving like a hermit. I was going to use another word, but I'm really, really trying to keep this podcast as clean as possible. The EV technology, I'm going to wait. I'm really hoping that they come up with a way of converting or an alternative fuel for the existing combustion engine cars that are on the road. Because for me, that would be a more environmentally friendly thing to do than just getting everybody to junk their ICE cars and get electric vehicles. I'm really not convinced over the direction of all of this. So anyway, I was looking at the Mini Electric, and then I decided I wasn't convinced. And so then, Petro was telling me to go and get like a 3-4-year-old Porsche Cayman S or something. And I did look at the BMW M240i, but there's quite a long wait for that. I love the 2 Series BMs. Like I had a 1 Series Coupe, 2013 model M Sport, and I absolutely loved it. And then I just thought, because I live quite close to the centre of town, I absolutely love my current Mini.
Yeah.
But it wouldn't hurt for it to be a bit more powerful, even though the Cooper S is quite powerful. I'm getting a full fat John Cooper Works Mini. So and quite unusual for me. It's going to have red roof and mirrors, but the body's that really dark green, almost black. Fantastic. Rebel green. So it's a bit more subtle. But then obviously I need to stick my dragons all over it. So
absolutely.
Otherwise you'll get disappointed. You were quite surprised. You were quite surprised, weren't you? Because I gave you a lift in that car last time you were down in London. It was
wonderful. It was really comfortable. It was very, very nippy. And it was really cool, sort of tanking around London in that.
I'm trying to get the lead designer for Mini, who's based out in Germany. I'm trying to get him on the podcast.
Absolutely, we need to get hold of him.
Yeah, he's ghosting me on Instagram at the moment. I keep sliding into his DMs, but he's not responded yet. So what I'm going to do is wait until I've got the JCW, and then I'm just going to keep tagging him in every single post, in every single picture.
Absolutely.
I'm going to create an account just for that car. So speaking of when I gave you a lift, I keep just segueing into, I'm trying to create links here, doing it in a very bad way. So the reason why I gave you a lift last time you were in London is because you dragged me to a networking event. And I never do networking events. And we were talking about the way that we market our businesses at the top of the show. Other than referrals, the other thing I think, if I'm going to give any advice to any budding entrepreneurs that are listening, the other advice that I would give is one of the best things that you could do is hang out in places where your ideal clients are hanging out, which is not something that I have done much of over my career. So it's a wonder that I've got to the stage that I have without it. But I'm kind of excited that I've set this New Year's resolution of doing more of what we did in, when was it, early December?
Yeah.
Late November. But we went to, it was hosted by Abode 2, a luxury property magazine, and it was at a gallery in Bond Street. So we met up that evening because you needed a +1. So you thought, who better? I don't know why you picked
I don't
me.
need a +1. I invited you. Would love to attend.
Really? You told me you needed me.
No. I said, you know what? I'm going to this swanky place. It'd be really cool. You know, you're a cool guy. You dress well. Wouldn't it be really cool for you to come with me to this swanky art gallery and you know, hey, make me look cool turning up?
Yeah. So yeah, and we did it. We did it. I had some problems on the personal front, but managed to make it down in the end, thankfully.
And thank you, by the way, for guiding me to Bond Street to spend some time whilst waiting for you. Burlington Arcade,
so you got
absolute blast.
Because it was around the time that No Time to Die had come out, and so there was this massive celebration of 60 years of Bond and everything, and Bond 25 down in sort of around the West End, Savile Row, Burlington Arcade, and so on. So I sent you down there because
superb.
Yeah, that's it. So they had a few of the retailers in Burlington Arcade, so Crockett and Jones, N. Peel, and there's another one, Omega, the watchmakers are down there as well. And basically they'd kitted all of that out, and it was a full celebration of everything Bond. I thought that as a Bond fan, you would absolutely love
superb, it. Absolutely brilliant. And it had really good banter with the staff working in these places. But the favourite place was definitely Omega shop. And upstairs they've actually got some of the timepieces owned by the film studio, where you could see which watch was worn and by who in which film. But that was a real treat. Really, really cool place to hang out whilst waiting for someone.
Yeah. Now you've done a few. You've done a few of these kinds of events, haven't you? And that was my first one, pretty much ever, because I'm not the sort of person that will go bouncing up to people and introducing myself and putting myself on them and stuff.
See, I thought that's exactly what you do, and I would just simply follow in your shadow.
You were disappointed, weren't you? I had people coming up talking to me. I think they thought I knew. They thought I knew about art. little did they know.
Yeah, no. Networking in general. So again, it's one of these terms, isn't it? Or you've got to do marketing to get your product out there. So it's one of those terms. You've got to network with people. So yeah, you have to meet people. You have to have conversations to get yourself known, to get your product out there. But what does that mean? Do you turn up and stand outside a bus stop and chat to the people waiting for the bus about your product? So the whole thing about networking is finding and being very strategic in the limited time that you have. Where are you going to go? Have some sort of plan as to the sort of people you want to engage with and what message you want to deliver in a way that's sort of mature, that's professional, that's not going to annoy people. Otherwise, you can go down this rabbit hole of just attending each and every event, thinking there's business people there, that there's various other businesses are going to be there, so I should sort of represent. I think the main reason for my attendance there, I've got an advertorial in Abode 2 magazine, in the home lifestyle section. And they very kindly invited me to this networking event in Mayfair, of which I could bring guests along, and really wanted you to attend. So I was really grateful for your attendance, and in the hope that I'd probably be meeting interior designers, architects, people in construction and development. But again, it's one of those, and you've got various setups, haven't you, to different extremes. Where if you go to like your typical BNI event. You turn up, at the crack of dawn and sort of there's noise everywhere, and it's like, oh my God, I've been hit by a bus. I'm still trying to wake up, and there's people already chatting, and they've name badges, and you've got to stand up and introduce yourself, almost like being at school, to going to an event where you turn up and you don't know anyone, you don't know what anyone does. What do? Do you just go up and say, hello, I'm not Bond, but can we talk? And it's that sort of, how do you develop those sort of skills as to just go up and start chatting to people? And one of my comfort zones is if someone's wearing something cool or outstanding, I have to comment. So, we got talking to Andre because he just had the coolest pair of specs and the brightest pink blazer I've ever seen, and that was it. Dude, you look cool. What do you do?
Yeah, I actually met up with him on Friday. So Andre Kappelhoff is owner of Viking PR, so he's in property, real estate PR. Lovely guy from Germany. So yeah, I actually did meet up with him last Friday, and we're going to try and help each other out, sort of networking in that sort of, because I've got a lot of clients in property. So yeah, and he's a massive kind of networker. He loves going to those types of events and so on. So probably going to end up doing some more of those with him in London. I'm actually going to one on the 24th over near Liverpool Street. And actually one of my clients, he's a lawyer. He's one of the nice ones. He's going with me, and Andre might pop along as well, actually. So yeah, so I'm just going to embrace all of this. I need to be hanging out more where people are that, are my kind of audience. So I'm really, really grateful for that evening. It was quite funny though, wasn't it? Because there was one bit where I was kind of staring at this painting, and I wasn't just staring at it to avoid people. I was staring at it because I really liked it. And then that lady just kind of sidled up next to me, cradling her champagne, and said, "What did she say? You like this painting?" Yeah. And I just went like moss out of the IT crowd, and I was like, "Yes, I like this painting." And then I immediately just got flustered and turned around to you and was like, "Right, so."
So what time did you train back?
Where's that guy coming with the canapé tray? Why does he keep avoiding us?
But yeah, networking can be, and I think it's if you know someone to go with, it always breaks the ice a little bit, rather than turning up as Billy No Mates thinking, right, who should I go and talk to? So yeah, choose your networking events carefully, and that time is valuable. You've invested that time to go and attend, and it's not necessarily a case of meeting each and every individual, like one of these speed dating things. Even if you come away with one or two contacts on the day, on the evening, and following them up, you never know what their networks are going to reveal to you. So never feel disheartened that you went somewhere and didn't get the person to sell to, but always try and find value in the time that you've spent there.
I think that's the thing. I'm not going to with a view to selling anybody anything. It is literally to make meaningful connections, because I'm trying to get into new networks and so on. And
we also got to see one of Wolinski's masterpiece sculptures of the big ape.
Gorilla.
Yeah.
Was it a gorilla?
Gorilla, King Kong.
How much was it? 70 grand?
I think it's £79,000.
Blimey. So it was just, I need to start the social media for the podcast. I need to start our Instagram account so we can post these things up there so people can see them.
Let's get Richard Orlinski on the show. I think that's well worth it. We want to talk about King Kong sculptures and his music.
Yeah, what inspires him to, capture these mighty beasts, encase them in plastic or resin or whatever, and then paint them in rainbow colours. But yeah, some pretty cool stuff there. But no, I did make, I think I came away with 3 or 4 potentially quite good contacts. So I'm very, very grateful for that. So thank you. And then you got to have a little ride through central London in Monday.
Yeah, which is really cool.
Yeah, not a euphemism, it's an actual car. Anyone who's listening to John Evans, if you're listening to this, you filthy mind you. So yeah, and I'm really, really glad that you got to go down to Burlington Arcade and kind of see all the Bond stuff.
Absolutely, and,
yeah.
It's just a completely different world out there. But just seeing the Chanel building and the Dior building, he's just like a kid at Christmas time with the lights. It was beautiful, absolutely wonderful to look at.
Yeah, and the Bond stuff must have been so cool to actually see some of those heritage pieces from the films that you grew up with.
That's the interesting thing. So I think this is the first Bond movie where there's just there's stuff that's been designed for the film that people can buy. I want that jumper. I want those cargo pants. I want those boots. Yeah, you can get all of it. You can get the luggage. You can get the watches. All of it. So that was quite interesting.
Yeah. Where did your love affair with Bond start, if I can call it that?
I think growing up in the 80s, it's one of those things. Christmas time, ITV. You get a film like Moonraker or The Spy Who Loved Me, and you may not have even heard of James Bond. This thing comes on, and it just blows your mind. Like, what? This is so cool. Who's this guy? The secret agent. These amazing locations he visits, all the gadgets, and as a kid growing up then, it's pure escapism, and then that just continues right on into adulthood. And so that I guess you may not have seen all the Bond films in the correct order, but as soon as you've seen one, and you like that sort of those elements within that film, then you go and watch the rest of them in any sort of order that you want. But the theme's always very, very similar, and it's just that element of escapism.
Yeah. Any had you seen No Time to Die?
Yes.
Yeah. What did you think?
So I think as a fan of the Daniel Craig collection, I thought it was an absolutely brilliant tribute to Daniel Craig and his work. It was a brilliant ending to these series of films in terms of the plot line. Wonderful tribute to On Her Majesty's Secret Service, I loved it as a standalone film. Absolutely loved it. One of the best films, one of the best cinema experiences I've had in the year. As a traditional Bond film, there's loads of debate all over the internet and loads of YouTube videos, mixed feelings, mixed reviews. One could argue that it may have gone away from the classical sort of ingredients that a Bond film should have. But look, I looked at it as the end of this sequence of films, and as a standalone, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Absolutely brilliant.
I loved it. That's the thing. I think you're right there, because what they've done with the Daniel Craig set of 5 movies, having a story from start to finish and an arc over those 5 films where they're all linked, that's not really been done in Bond before. Mm-hmm. Generally speaking, you might have had, during the Sean Connery phase, I think, because I've not actually seen any of those properly. I've only seen bits of them as a kid, but I've never actually sat down and watched them from beginning to end. But, I think he had the same villain maybe through a couple of the films, Blofeld. Yeah. And then not James Bond, Roger Moore had, the recurring sort of villain in his films was always Jaws popping up in most of his. You're almost disappointed if you saw a Roger Moore film and you didn't see Jaws pop up. Although was Jaws only in...
He was only in 2 films.
Because he was in Moonraker and he was in The Spy Who Loved Me.
Yeah.
Okay. Timothy Dalton was just those 2, that were based on books. And I thought, I haven't actually seen them properly, but from the little bits I have seen of them, he seems to have done a really good job. Pierce Brosnan, there was no real continuation of a story through any of those films at all. I mean, they all would have just kind of stood on their own. I mean, the only theme that really did link all of them was his kind of tragedy and sense of loss at the women that had sort of died. So Terry Hatcher's character in Tomorrow Never Dies, and then, his love affair with Sophie Marceau's character in Electra in The World Is Not Enough, and so on. So that sort of theme of loss kind of echoed through this, but not in any really deep, meaningful way, not really in the way that they kind of went into it with the Daniel Craig movie. So yeah, I absolutely loved it. I downloaded it recently because it was available to buy on digital download a couple of weeks ago, and I just didn't hesitate. So, but yeah, I can't imagine what it's going to look and sound like on your demo room system, though. It's going to be amazing.
As soon as the release was announced on 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray, it's straight pre-order. and it is now one of my reference demo discs. The beginning sequence with the DB5 going along the cliff, and the obviously the whole shootout sequence at the beginning, absolutely superb. Audio visually, it's superb.
Yeah, because the soundtrack as well. I've listened to the soundtrack a few times, and I just love the way they catch all of those little notes and the colours and the hues of Bond movies and soundtracks and title themes of days gone by, like you mentioned on Her Majesty's Secret Service, and the riffs on the traditional Bond, John Barry, Bond theme, so when he's in the car with her and they're all shooting at it and he's just sort of sat there not doing anything and she's pleading with him, please James, and he's just looking at her and he's so angry and God knows what's going through his head. They're shooting at the car and it's the whole, dun 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 dun. It's just it's awesome. It's such an amazing soundtrack. God, I've got to bring that, or we've got to stream it. If I come back to the Steinway demo room, I want to listen to that on those big ones. I mean, seriously. I
mean, Hans Zimmer's having a blast. This is this is his era in all great score composers. But I just think it's genius how he's approached this. It's such a fresh sound, but it's so familiar as a tribute to,
because he's drawn inspiration. Exactly. It's very obvious the inspiration, but it's got a fresh feel to it, and you really get a sense of you listen to that soundtrack and you know exactly where you are in the movie, even if you've only ever seen the movie once.
It's like fresh nostalgia.
Yeah, exactly. It really, and that's what great music does, is it evokes memory and feeling, and it fires all of your senses. And oh my God, I need to watch that again. So who's your favourite, or who for you is the best Bond of the five actors that have portrayed him?
They were all apt for their generation, for
their time.
So for their time, when you're a kid growing up in that era, seeing Roger Moore on the screen, he's Bond, he's super cool, he's just the best dressed and the best spoken. Sean Connery.
So for you, Roger Moore's the best?
No, I'm saying for each era at that particular time.
Okay. Yeah.
They were very clever as to who played Bond, and it doesn't matter which era you're in. If you were in that era at that time and that was Bond, because that was the person who personified that character best. So if you're growing up watching Sean Connery movies, that was it. I think the genius of placing Daniel Craig for the current line of films and just watching that maturity in the character. These are the first Bond films that I've really sort of understood and connected with. As a kid, when you're watching the Bond films, I didn't have a clue half the time what on earth was going on, other than a few fights, explosions, and
it's a good point, right? Because you look at what they did with the Craig saga, as it were. It's kind of, maybe with the exception of Quantum of Solace, because sadly that film does have its problems, not through really anyone's fault. It was just circumstance. But it's kind of really hard to watch any of those films out of sequence now, like kind of standalone, knowing the sort of greater story. That's how it is for me anyway.
No,
so it's like now, if I want to go back to, Casino Royale, when it was just Casino Royale, that I just rewatched and rewatched, because for me that is as close to the perfect Bond movie as you can get. I think that I'll see when I've actually watched through all of them, but I'm pretty confident by the end of that, I will still conclude that Casino Royale is the best Bond movie that has ever been made. But because of what they've done with that, with the story arc and everything, whereas the previous films are kind of very entertaining. There's nothing deep about them. You can, if you just kind of fancy a little bit of light-hearted action, nothing too serious that's going to tax your brain, you can pick any of them.
Watch Live and Let Die. And if you're a kid growing up in the 80s, that's like one of the coolest films you can watch. Period.
Yeah, totally.
And you didn't really have to understand the intricacies of who's the main villain and what voodoo is or anything. It's just really, really good fun. Or Man with the Golden Gun. It's just really good fun. Obviously, with these films, there's a hell of a lot more going on in terms of the Bond's character changing and the emotions involved, and it's really a character development of Bond himself. Whereas on all the other films, it's everything that was going around him. He just happened to just be there.
Yeah, it's just like set piece after set piece, right? And then obviously we were all waiting for Q and the gadgets and all that kind of thing. So I'm one of my Christmas presents was the Taschen published James Bond archives.
Nice.
Yeah, and it's the up-to-date version, which goes from Dr. No all the way through to No Time to Die.
Fantastic. And
it's an amazing book. Listeners are going to get bored of me talking about this because I spoke about it on the last episode, but it's meant to be a coffee table book. But I don't know how big your house has to be to have a coffee table big enough for this thing. It is huge. I went and picked it up from Selfridges, right? And I was on my little 50cc Vespa, and I thought it was going to be like a book, like the size of an iPad. And they bring it out in this massive thing, and then he said, "Do you want me to double bag it?" And I'm like, "No, it's fine." I picked it up, almost broke my arm off. The thing weighs about 15, 20 kilos. And then I was like, "Oh, I'm on a Vespa. I'm not sure I'm going to get it home." And the sales assistant just looked at me and just walked off. It's like, it's not my problem. So went back to the Vespa, and literally I kind of had to put it between the steering column and the seat, sort of long ways like that, but it was literally hanging off either side.
Mumbai
and then
style.
I had to kind of like hook my legs, Mumbai style, exactly. I had to hook my legs over it to try and trap it to stop it moving around. So I'm literally just riding with my legs up in the air, sort of like a Harley, but with this massive book underneath. But I did manage to get it home. Safe, actually not safely, whatever. But it's amazing. Atif, you love it when you're, once my stupid house is finished and you come visit. I'll take you through it. Or you should actually just go buy it for yourself.
Or you could bring it to the studio, to the tailoring suite.
Yeah, could do. I might need to borrow your GLC to flipping cut. I don't think it'll fit in my Mini. But it really deep dives on every single movie. I mean, it's got I've only really sort of glanced through the first bit, the Dr. No bit, but it's got the whole shooting schedule for Dr. No. So you can see where they've got their break days and who's on call that day and so on. And all the interviews and stuff and archive photos and, oh God, there's so much. It's amazing. So what this has inspired me to do is, because I now own every single Bond movie on Blu-ray and digital download. I'm going to watch every single one in order from Dr. No, starting this weekend actually, going all the way through to No Time to Die. We're going to record a podcast episode every single month. So we're going to do one Bond movie a month. And then what we're going to do is, whoever my guest is with me, so at the moment, Philip Rahman, who was episode 15, I want to say, but I might have that wrong. He's not a massive Bond fan. He didn't grow up sort of watching the movies or anything, but he saw Dr. No recently and he said it completely blew his mind. So now he's actually starting to watch all of them in sequence. So he's going to be joining me for a lot of the episodes. It would be really nice for you to drop in, if not all, because I know how busy you are, but at least some of them.
Brilliant. I'd love to be involved.
So we're going to put that out once a month, and eventually the idea, because this is going to be this. I mean, it's 25 movies, right? So it's 26 if we decide to do Never Say Never Again. We might just do that one for a laugh.
Just for a laugh, absolutely.
Just for a laugh. The idea is once a month we deep dive on the movie and give our thoughts, opinions, maybe talk about it in the context of the modern day and all of that sort of stuff. Talk about the outfits, talk about the cars, the gadgets, the girls and all the rest of it. And we'll kind of just run our way through the entire series until we get to No Time to Die, by which time, a couple of years, 2.5 years time or so, hopefully there'll be a new Bond and there'll be a new movie coming out.
Absolutely.
Cool. So I think we should put you down definitely for Moonraker.
Yeah. All the spy love me, they're both as crazy each other. Any of the Roger Moore films, I'm up for that.
So Roger Moore, you're up for Roger Moore. All right, cool. And then I think by the time we get to Daniel Craig, we're definitely going to have, hopefully by then I'll have a, you'll
have like a really group audience, you'll have a panel.
We'll have a massive podcast, with just loads of people. It'll be awesome. Anyway, we'll see how it goes. But that's going to be really cool. And hopefully at some point we'll get to maybe just watch one or two of them on one of your amazing systems.
That would be a pleasure. I'd love to host you to watch, particularly No Time to Die.
From a technical point of view, looking at sound editing and so on, what would you say in your opinion? I don't know how many Bond movies you watched on a Lyndorf system, or an M&K system, but in your opinion, what's the best sounding Bond movie?
It's a good question. So obviously the Daniel Craig films, obviously the technologies, improved vastly compared to the films from the 70s and 80s. But you'll find films recorded from the 90s, like Tomorrow Never Dies, or those era films. They're quite well recorded, and certainly on the Blu-rays, they had new 5.1 DTS mixes on them. So they're actually very, very powerful mixes. The first series of Daniel Craig films, again, were all in DTS, DTS HD, and they sound incredible. I watched Casino Royale with my teenage kids recently, and the audio is just brilliant. Particularly the gun battles and the action sequences. One of my go-to reference discs, even to date, is the opening sequence of Quantum of Solace during the Aston Martin chase shootout. It sounds incredible. It's blistering. Yeah. The first Atmos mix is on No Time to Die, and yes, there's definitely a noticeable difference. It's a lot more atmospheric. You can hear the sort of height effects coming through. It's a wonderfully mixed audio track, so you can tell that they've really pushed the boat out on this. And again, it's just a fantastic tribute. But any film which has been well mixed, well produced, you'll hear those differences on a really good audio system. Yeah.
The problem I've got is that to really experience Dolby Atmos, I need to be watching on an iPad with my AirPods Max, because my actual home cinema setup at home isn't Dolby Atmos. So I can't wait for the day that I've actually got a proper room set up with your stuff and everything, and we can sort all that Dolby Atmos stuff out, because it's such a shame to get that amazing audio experience. Although I think actually I could actually watch on my TV through Apple TV, and the Dolby Atmos will go, but I'd have to sit there with my headphones on,
or just come around mine for a weekend,
or just come around yours for a week. Done.
That's that sorted. Dilemma over.
I'm up for it.
Done.
I'm up for it. I'll get a dog sitter. That'll be awesome. I'm just conscious of time actually, because we both had long days and it's midweek. So I think we're going to wrap up there. But obviously we've got a few things that we're working on, which are very exciting. I'm really looking forward to this year. I'm looking forward to a lot of the things that we're going to be up to together, and I've set quite a few personal goals for myself. What's the biggest thing for you this year that you want to achieve in 2022?
Wow, that's a great question. After what's happened in the last couple of years, I'll be honest with you, I don't even look at the year ahead. I'm literally going from week to week, and I think one of the things I want to I want to focus. I guess become more strategic in some of the marketing and the networking that I'm doing, and really take care more of myself from a physical, spiritual, nutritional sense. So I think this year, as we've just come out of things, is really just a time of self-reflection and getting back to basics in terms of health and well-being. Let's look after ourselves first. Hopefully that will translate into our work and our businesses, and then we'll slowly build upon that and be fruitful towards the end of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Atif, where can listeners find you online?
Well, if you're into house music or R&B or hip-hop, then you can listen to me on my Mixcloud channel, which is Dr. Gecko on Mixcloud. So if you want to listen to mixes to work out with, you can find me there. Otherwise, I've got my own YouTube channel, Zebra Home Cinema, and on the other Instagram, Facebook, and LinkedIn, whatever social media vehicle takes your fancy, you'll find me there.
I'll make sure that Atif's links are in the show notes for you as always. Atif, thank you so much for taking time to join me once again. It's been an absolute pleasure.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's always delighted to get an invitation to sit on your podcast. I'm still waiting for Paul Chowdhury's invitation, but that hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, exactly. I'm kind of trying to get into his DMs as well. But story for another time. You've been a really nice guest today, because I actually I booked Al Pacino through someone, and but he was really rude. I think he was threatening to have me killed. I'm not sure. But anyway,
in fact, it was Tony Montana. If you wanted Al Pacino, I think Tony Montana turned up. I think that was where the confusion was.
Is this in Al Pacino's twisted split personality psyche?
Yeah,
where
exactly. He must have just reverted. We need to get him back to just being, normal Al, But,
yeah, maybe. I'll try again next time. That's it for this episode, and thank you once again for joining Atif and I. Thank you so much for lending me your ears. I really do appreciate you taking the time to listen to and support the show. So you have another scoop. Only on the last episode did you get the news about the upcoming Tailoring Talk James Bondathon, the ultimate James Bond rewatch. But Atif getting involved in the 007 action is just amazing news, and I'm so thrilled. We're going to have so much fun revisiting these movies together, or for me, actually visiting some of them for the first time. Make sure you do not miss a thing by hitting that subscribe button, and I will see you on the next one. Bye.
Do I say bye as well?